Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody to know, everybody with an invisible condition, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you do have a community, and you are never alone. And I am excited to introduce you to our guest today. Rebecca Lee is going to be with us today. And Rebecca learned about chronic mercury from being poisoned by amalgam dental fillings when she was a child. I know a lot of people out there have these fillings. You're going to want to tune in because this is going to be an amazing show. You're going to be blown away and learn so much. So stick around. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, call them on the phone right now and get them watching, because this is going to be great. So Rebecca started getting dementia in her 50s, started setting in her 50s, and along with a bunch of other unpleasant symptoms that came and went and changed all the time. And so she was able to regain her health by following the Andy Cutler protocol of frequent low dose chelation using DMSA, DMPS, and alpha lipoic acid. So we're going to talk about all that. I am not the expert here. She is. So let's bring her on and we can dive into this episode and get our learn on here. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. This is so important. I feel like there's going to be so many people that are going to benefit from this show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted to be with you.
This is, God, what a crazy subject. Like mercury. I mean, I have heard about mercury as that's in a lot of stuff. Everybody knows about those old school thermometers with the little silver tip, that's mercury. So don't break those, and if you do, you might be, but there's so many other places that you can be exposed to mercury and so many other things. So I can't wait to dive in here. So could you just share your journey that led to your discovery of chronic mercury toxicity and how it started to first affect you?
Well, I had, when you talk about invisible illnesses, that's really great. I love that. I was just sick with this and that. And I guess it was mainly anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, and odd aches and pains that would move around my body and change from place to place. And I was constantly going to doctors and going to practitioners and going for Chinese medicine and chiropractors and all these different things. And everything I did helped, but it never seemed to stick. And finally, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And my chiropractor sent me to a chiropractic neurologist, and he gave me a challenge test, which you shouldn't do. And that sort of sent me on the path of mercury poisoning. And I got on the internet and looked around until I found Andy Cutler. The internet had just started back then. And we had a Yahoo group, a Yahoo discussion group, and he was on there, and I met him and I got his books and I read all his books and so forth. And then he also had asked me at one point to help him write a book. And I asked him to mentor me because I wanted to get into this business, sort of this, be a health coach. And he
Yeah.
said he would because of, quote, all those sick people out there. And I also write this book, the Mercury Detoxification Manual, which is,
Yeah, great. I love it. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. I'm gonna put your QR code up here with your website.
Okay.
Maybe it's mercury.com. If anybody, guys, seriously, everybody out there listening, listen up. If you've ever wondered if you might have mercury toxicity or mercury poisoning, stay tuned, stick around through the whole episode and reach out to Rebecca, because this is important. So
it's very, very common.
Yeah. It probably disguises itself with all kinds of stuff. But you said something that kind of made me chuckle. You're the only other person that I have ever met that has gone to a chiropractic neurologist. You're the only other person. I found one here in Colorado Springs where I live too, for something that I was dealing with about 10 years ago. And he was enormously helpful. So it's rare though.
It's kind of rarefied profession. Yeah. He looked in my eyes. He said, "Oh my goodness, you have this condition that only people who work in in airports, in the towers get, because they're under so much stress."
Yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's never good to hear. You just kind of go, "Thank you." I don't know what to say to that.
Well, I do say thank you, but he gave me a lot of bad advice too, because not very many doctors or practitioners know how to do this, how to detox heavy metals.
Sure. Well, I preface this statement by saying I would not be here without good doctors and surgeons. I wouldn't be sitting before you, but they are just practicing, that's why they call it practicing medicine, so they go through all that education and all that schooling. But my firm belief is that their first day on the floor and in their new profession after schooling, that first day on the job, that's when their real education starts. And so,
Well, I say the same thing that you say. I would be dead if it weren't for doctors, particularly surgeons. I wouldn't be here, but but still you have to retain custody of your own, if you
100%.
What you're going to do about your health.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to be your own best advocate for sure. We'll talk more about that too. So, but can you share, what's my one question that's probably going through some people's minds? I mean, everybody knows that you're not supposed to expose yourself to mercury, and of course, like I said, look at the example with the old school thermometer, right? But it's in so many other places and so many different scenarios and so many other places we don't even know. Why is mercury so dangerous and toxic?
Well, it has other poisons only poison you in one or two ways. We got a section on that. Cyanide and carbon monoxide block the hemoglobin's ability to carry oxygen. Ozone destroys the lining of your lungs. Hexavalent chromium oxidizes your DNA. All the plastics and plasticizers in the environment are estrogen mimics and agonize or antagonize one of a handful of estrogen receptors in your body. But mercury is different from ordinary poisons. It doesn't just harm you in one way. Mercury interferes with a vast number of fundamental metabolic processes. It causes hundreds of different symptoms. And any individual may experience some or a great many of these at any time. It's, I think, 250 different symptoms, and they sort of congregate in these constellations of things that are given names, like multiple sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease or whatever. Irritable bowel syndrome. There's those are just a bunch of symptoms actually that have been given a name.
Sure.
But if you look closely, it's chronic mercury half the time. I think all the time.
I mean, that's what any condition is. That's what anything is just a collection of symptoms that gets a label slapped on it because that's the best they can do to figure it out. But But you're saying that most of those conditions, if not all of them, are because of mercury?
I've come to think that, yeah.
Huh.
It sounds a little far-fetched, and
I mean, that's a big.
people get like, oh, like she's a nut, but I've come to think that.
Well, I would, first of all, I would never call you that because just so this. I know this isn't in the same category, but I've been called a nut myself sometimes with some of the things I talk about and in other realms of life. But just I've become a firm believer that just because it's a conspiracy doesn't mean it's a theory. So it might be true. You never know till you investigate. So same thing with this. Some people call it a good story, but it's true. It's out there. So,
well, it's worth looking into, because if you have Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease or multiple sclerosis, those things aren't curable. You die from them. But mercury is. You can fix mercury poisoning. So it's very worthwhile looking into.
Yeah. Absolutely. So do you think you were exposed to mercury in just one particular situation or multiple, or like just from the fillings, or what do you think? What's your theory?
It was largely from the fillings, and then I think those products that must not be named, because my father was a Foreign Service officer and we traveled a lot. And then even after I grew up and left my home, I traveled a lot, and I got just a whole bunch of them. Yeah. But the real big event was when I came back from living in India, and my father, wanting to help me out, took me to his dentist, and the dentist was like a maniac, and he looked at, he did like x-rays. He said, "Oh, that's terrible dental work you have." And he drilled out 8 fillings and replaced them with more mercury amalgam. It happened when I was about, I don't know, my 40s. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was terrible. I had a nervous breakdown. I wept for about 3 weeks. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. I didn't know. But in retrospect, that's what happened.
Well, when you go to the dentist, when you go to the doctor, when you go to the chiropractor, when you go to anywhere, even if you're skeptical, you still have an inherent sense that they are there for your good, right? You don't go to the doctor and go, "Oh, geez, I wonder what." You may
not anymore.
Well, for the most part, most people, I think, if you asked them, would say in general that when they go to the dentist, they don't think they're not there to specifically do you harm.
No, they don't think they're doing you harm either. But
right.
I learned two words. Like I'm not a person with a scientific background. I have no technical background. I'm a French major, and I learned all this, from working with Andy, who was a chemistry PhD. But there was 2 words that I picked up, doing this, and one is iatrogenic, and the other is, the first one I say it's idiopathic, means nobody knows what causes it, and the second one is iatrogenic. It means it was the medical system that did it to you. Yeah, so those are 2 words, and they're really apt and appropriate in talking about chronic mercury poisoning.
Wow. So
particularly mercury. I mean, not some of the other metals, not so much, but mercury has been used in medicine.
Sure.
Sure. I would just quote Andy here: "A breathtaking exercise in criminal irresponsibility," he called it.
Yikes. That is
the medical use of mercury, which has been going on for hundreds of years. More. It's been going on, for eons.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I am a firm believer that we've been doing fine for the last thousands of years, and countless numbers of thousands of years with Eastern medicine, Western medicine, all the different modalities from around the world that are more natural and more homeopathic and more, and then it's only really been in the last 150 years that the American traditional medical model came in and said, we can do it better, and they have a better advertising budget than any of the others combined. And so we've convinced ourselves, especially in this country, that is the go-to when it's not always the best go-to.
Yes, that's true. But mercury, nevertheless, has been used medicinally, like for thousands of years.
Really?
It's powerful stuff. It kills
Well,
everything.
yeah.
It kills everything, so it works. It works to a certain extent, and it kills everything. But it has a lot of side effects.
How has it been used medicinally for thousands of years? Like what would they possibly use it for that would be beneficial?
Well, in the recent history, like just a couple of 100 years, it was used to treat syphilis and venereal diseases.
Whoa.
So I mean, you can look historically, and like I'm always reading. Like I like to read sort of 19th century authors because they're free on Kindle and they're good, and so I read them, and you read their biographies, and they went mad, in their 60s and became, like Gogol. Who can I also say? Louisa May Alcott was poisoned.
Oh yeah.
She claims it herself. There's a lot of them. I wanted to do a thing, but if you go back thousands of years, there's a famous Chinese emperor. The one who buried all those terracotta images of the soldiers.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one. Yeah. He wanted to become immortal, so he used mercury medicinally to become immortal, or magically to become immortal.
Wow.
And they're scared. I mean, some people say they're scared to dig up his tomb because he had put together a map of China, like a map of China, and that he had built model of a map of China, and he used mercury for all the rivers and lakes and oceans. So they're scared to open that particular tomb because it's just so unbelievably poisonous.
I mean, that's legit. I don't think I'd want to either. I'm not sure how you could protect yourself going in there.
I mean, this is something that you just stand around and look at it, and it poisons you because it evaporates at room temperatures. So, and its most easily absorbed form is the vapor.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I mean, so like I have some colleagues when they were kids had a little puddle of it on their dresser at night that they played with during the day from broken thermometers. And, that's, I mean, now they call Homeland Security if they find a little drop of it.
Right? Yeah. Well, they also used to give the soldiers in World War I cigarettes as part of their rations because they didn't realize they weren't healthy. So we all learn as we go, right? It's just, you don't know what you don't know sometimes, but given what we know now, that seems kind of unbelievable that kids would be playing around with it on their dresser.
Always known. I mean, the scientific literature has been talking about, the medical literature has been talking about this for a couple of 100 years. So if anybody took trouble to read all those things, they would know.
That's true. Well, reading literature, and sometimes it's easier to have your head in the sand, but not in the long term, because then it ends up hurting you. So I mean, I'm on the same page with you. I understand mercury is a dangerous thing, but I can't imagine ever doing what some people have done in the past with it. It's crazy.
The fact it's an epidemic. It's epidemic. It's epidemic in the world right now, and it's particularly epidemic in the States. I mean, I know people just don't know about it. It's undiagnosed. And I mean, Andy used to say, well, this isn't the first time that there's been a mass poisoning and it went unremarked.
Right.
In societies, there's been other poisonings that are,
Yeah, no, it's a thing. It's taking a different form this time. That's all. Yeah. And it's almost more mysterious this time because it's like, oh, mercury. No, that can't possibly be the cause, So
it's hard to diagnose. Doesn't show up in tests. So yeah.
Well, not the standard ones anyway. I'm sure there's stuff you can do to detect it, but we'll dive into that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll go into that. I'll explain how we do it.
For sure. Yeah. In fact, I think this is a really good place for a break. And then when we come back, so we're gonna go to commercial, everybody. But when we come back, we're gonna dive into that because it's important that we know this stuff, that we understand why this stuff is. I mean, as if you didn't know that it was harmful. What it's so widespread though, and I don't think everybody is understanding how widespread it is sometimes. And so we're going to dive into that, and then also I want to hear how you reversed your dementia symptoms. That's I got to hear that. So we'll dive into that after the break. What's that?
I seem fairly sharp.
You are on it, man. No, exactly. So that's why I want to talk about it, because dementia is also kind of an epidemic in this country.
Yes.
So we're gonna dive into that as soon as we get back from this break. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Does your to-do list have you feeling stressed? Does your list include tasks like responding to email and phone calls, collecting forms and paperwork, and sending quotes and invoices? Have you been neglecting posting updates to your social media accounts, email newsletters, or content on your website? Maybe you need help to get digitally organized. I'm Selena, one of the owners at Office Mercenary, and we're a US-based virtual assistant agency. We can take care of all of these tasks and more so you can get back to focusing on the things you love about your business. Our team is happy to work with you and your individual needs. So schedule a call with us, bring your to-do list, and stop doing the tedious tasks.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
Hey, everybody, before we bring Rebecca back to talk more about her story and about the amazing things that she has discovered that can be helpful for all of us, I want to take just a minute to talk to you about Invisible Condition University. Invisible Condition University is something that I wish I had had 10 years ago. Every time I had surgery, my wife and family were mostly on their own without anybody to help them. I mean, once you leave the hospital, they kind of forget your name. You know, that's why my wife and I created ICU. We wanted to provide a place where other people like us would find a community that listens and cares and walks with you no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're dealing with. We meet on Zoom twice a month, the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And we are providing a safe space for patients and their caregivers to ask questions, vent frustrations, find information that is not necessarily always provided by their medical professionals. To join our growing community, simply scan the QR code or go to invisibleconditionuniversity.com and join. And I can't wait to see you on the next call. We just had a call on August 20th, and it was amazing, and I can't wait for you to be on the next one. Second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. Join us, and we'll see you there. So, all right, let's bring Rebecca back up here. I'm going to close that for a second. There we go. All right, here we go. Man, this is crazy. Mercury is such a crazy thing that, I mean, some people don't even realize they're like you didn't know that's what it was when you were getting symptoms, right? I mean, you had to dig a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
When I got Andy's book that he wrote, it's called Amalgam Illness, and I read it, and it was hard for me to understand because I was like, I couldn't concentrate, and I was like at this forgetting the beginning of a paragraph by the time you get to the end of it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it just seemed, I just knew that this was it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was
It's
right.
crazy. So once you learned about the protocol that Andy does, what was the process of starting the chelation therapy like, and how did it impact you at first in your symptoms? How
Well,
long did it take you to see a difference?
I'd say it takes about a year before you really notice anything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long process. I mean, you have to move this stuff slowly. You can't be moving bolus doses around because it'll redistribute from someplace where it wasn't doing any harm into your brain or your glands. So, the first step, unfortunately, and it's really kind of terrible for someone my age who has been to these dentists, since they were children, is you have to get everything out of your mouth. You can't have even the slightest speck of mercury in your, of amalgam in your mouth. And even the people that come to us for help, we make them do digital bite wing x-rays, post them in our Facebook group, and we have some volunteer dentists that go over them looking for even the tiniest thing. So that's the worst part. It's like it can cost thousands of dollars. You can go out of country to get it done, but so if you're a younger person, a lot of young people have mercury symptoms, like the levels of anxiety that I see around me are just that's preliminary start off phase of mercury. They don't, they could just jump right in. They never got those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so that's the first thing. You have to get your teeth fixed. You have to get all the mercury out of your mouth. And next, there's certain waiting periods you have to go through. Like you can, after your last exposure, which is your last dental work, you can wait 4 days and can start either DMSA or DMPS, which are extracellular chelators. They only remove mercury, which is outside of your cells. And then you have to wait like 3 months before you can start lipoic acid. Lipoic acid is a fat-soluble chelator, which people don't realize that, and they use it improperly all the time. It's very powerful, and it has to be used carefully and properly, or you can really injure yourself with that stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm guessing the alpha lipoic acid is what absorbs the mercury, so it can be exited from your. Am I?
Absorbed isn't really the right term. It sort of latches onto it. It's a molecule that has two thiol groups on it that are spaced different apart. That they come across the mercury ion and they go, because chelate comes from the Greek word for crab. So they latch onto it, pull it out of where it is, and then move it off into the blood and out.
Oh my gosh!
But you have to dose these chelators on their half-life, because they lose their strength and start to dissipate in your body, and they'll drop their payload, and then it'll redistribute to some other. They're attracted to thiol groups in the body. When every cell, all the cells in the body have these, but your glands in your brain are particularly rich in them, so it'll just move off and reattach to some really some place where it'll harm you again, get re-exposed, and all the oxidative stuff that it does to you. So you have to dose on half-life. So that means you take a dose of alpha lipoic acid. Its half-life is unfortunately every 3 hours. So you set alarms all day and all night for 3 days and the intervening 2 nights. You have to take this stuff every 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it takes a lot. Like people have to kind of buy into the process and really believe in it and really want to do it. Because
you can't miss anything. You got to do it, you
have to be quite, rigorous how you do that.
Yeah. You got to be precise. You can't skip one, right? Because that throws the whole process off.
Throws the whole process off. But that's the only thing that has to be followed. You have to follow the rules with very carefully, and everything else is like supplements. Mostly we use supplements. Of course, people use, pharmaceuticals too. I'm not, against them, but mostly we use supplements, and the supplements are used to deal with the symptoms that come up while you're going through this process. And there's some supplements that particularly oppose the bad things that mercury does to you. Those are magnesium, zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin E. So everybody takes those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
well,
after that, depending upon how it hits you, because some people have this symptom and other people have those, and so
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, every body is different, every person is different, so you gotta, so it's kind of a custom diagnosis every time. Yeah.
Yes, it's custom every time. And some people, mercury people tend to be, some of them are sensitive, and they can't tolerate vitamin C because it's made from corn, and they have to try 25 different kinds before they find one that they can tolerate, that sort of thing. We see that a lot.
Or even like one, I'm trying to think. I mean, vitamin C is one of them. Magnesium's another one that's got a lot of different, like magnesium cholinate, magnesium glycinate. Like, you gotta find the right, one
that you like. Yeah, works for you. Yes.
Yeah. So that can be a lot of work. You're not kidding, man. People got to be committed, because there is a lot to figure out, and there's a lot of variables there. So, so what would you tell somebody that, what advice would you give to somebody who is just starting to suspect maybe there might be some mercury toxicity in their body, but's not sure what the next step is? What would be your first go-to for them?
I guess educate yourself. And I mean, if you're in the unfortunate situation that you've got $10,000 of dental work before you can do this, you might want to do a hair test. And a hair test can be informative. Sometimes you don't learn anything from a hair test, but it can often be very informative about heavy metals. Mercury does not, when a person's very toxic with mercury, half the time the mercury bar on the toxic elements of a hair test will be low, because you stop excreting it at a certain point. So the reason you're toxic is you're not excreting it. And I will add that some people excrete it better than others, and that's genetic. So some people can get very, very sick with a couple of fillings, and other people have masses of them and nothing happened to them. And so not much.
So where would somebody, is that hair test something that's pretty commonly covered by most insurance? Is it something special that somebody you have to seek out somewhere and pay a bunch out of pocket? Or
it's $100, and I'm going to be offering it in my full script dispensary pretty soon. So it's like $100 and something. You want the doctor's data, hair elements test, it's called. So it has the toxic elements and the essential elements on it. And mercury messes with the way minerals move across the cell walls, and this will show up in the essential elements section of a hair test. So we're looking for its footprint, and it's one of the ways it makes you sick is messing with it's called mineral transport disorder. And we look for that on a hair test, and when we see that, we say, oh, there's enough mercury. Mercury's messing with this person's health in that way. It's probably getting them in a lot of other ways too.
Okay. And it's so you say it's that sounds relatively inexpensive as far as medical tests go, but is that something any medical office could do, or is you got to go to a specialty place, or what would be the best way to people to find that?
You can't order directly from doctor's data. So, and most people do this on their own. So they order through like an intermediary. Who's got like Full Script has got a doctor on staff who will sign off on the tests. And Direct Labs, you can order it through them. But your doctor can order it, but your doctor won't know how to interpret it.
Right. Okay. I understand what you're saying now. So you want to order it in a way that you can have, because you're right. If you take the test and nobody can tell you what it means, then you just wasted your money.
Yeah, they won't be able to interpret it, because they'll just go, oh, you've got a low mercury bar on this, it means mercury's not a problem. So we people order the test, they get a digital copy, and they post it on our Facebook group. We have this Facebook group with 85,000 members, and at least 30, moderators who, and they'll interpret the test for you for free.
Holy smokes. That's amazing. And it's a public group. Anybody can come?
No, you have to ask to join.
Okay.
You answer some questions and we'll let you in. And we have members from all over the world.
It's that hair test, what you said about the doctors looking at it and saying, oh, well, you have low mercury levels, so it's not a problem. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of an analogy somebody told me one time about, if you took just a half a teaspoon of dog poop and baked it into a giant batch of brownies, would you eat any of those brownies? There's just a tiny little bit, just a little bit, it's not going to hurt you. I wouldn't touch those brownies with a 10-foot pole, any amount is going to be bad, right? That seems similar to mercury, right? Any exposure to any level of mercury is bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, like you have to sort of decide how much you're willing to tolerate, like how much fish that you how much you want to eat it and how much mercury is in it and how much you're willing to tolerate. Yeah.
So if somebody has a diet that's high in seafood and fish, you're gonna have mercury in your system probably at some point.
Yeah, I have this young woman that's I'm friends with now who worked as a fishmonger for 14 years, a long time.
Wow.
And boy, did she get poisoned. Terrible. She had all this free fish. She ate it every day, and she got really, really, really sick.
So what are some of what if somebody's like, okay, great, fine, you're freaking me out now. What symptoms should I look for everyday life? What would somebody be experiencing that would be a red flag?
But the sort of preliminary manifestation is anxiety. I think it's the first thing you see.
Okay.
And then it could go to, people have gut issues. They have adrenal issues, like anything that's coming from the HPA axis. And that's a lot of stuff because that's your basic messengering system in your whole body. So mercury messes in that this is on page 32, I think in 10 different places.
Wow.
It interferes with, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different places between the brain and the hormone producing glands in 10 different places, between the brain and the adrenal glands, 1, 2, 3. So it interferes with how cortisol is produced, particularly. So people have, but it doesn't interfere anywhere between the brain and adrenaline in the adrenal glands. So people have tons of adrenaline, but not enough cortisol, which is why, anxiety disorders, attacks, and they can't sleep.
For sure.
Yeah.
You get enough. Yeah. You don't want adrenaline without something to counteract it. Yeah.
Without the cortisol to counteract. And the cortisol will be just like completely off kilter.
Yeah.
Come out at the wrong time. It'll be, people do these saliva tests, and it's supposed to follow a certain pattern, and it'll be all messed up because they have mercury.
Sure. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man. And this is just stuff that nobody thinks about. I mean, honestly, this is just stuff that nobody thinks about. They attribute it to something else. They treat it as something else. What's that?
That's Andy's seminal work, Amalgam Illness, Diagnosis and Treatment.
Wow.
Available on my website.
On your website. Okay.
Yes.
People can access that. Right on.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So we are going to go to one more break just for a minute or two. And then we're going to come back. And then I swear we got to hear that story about you reversing your dementia. I know we didn't get into it with this one. I want to just, if you've got we got to hear that story, man. It's a good story. So, and then we're going to talk about, one of my favorite subjects, and that's hope, because there's got to be hope. If you don't have hope, you're almost dead in the water already. So we're going to talk about that too. And so stickers.
A lot of people.
What's that?
I hope this reaches some people who need to hear it.
Exactly. I know. I I think it'll reach exactly the right people. I can't wait for people to start reaching out about this, because this is huge.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. So yes, everybody stick around for this last segment, because this is going to be a good story. So yeah, stick around. We'll be right back.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod. The world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are back, and we are here for we're already at the last segment. I can't believe it. Time flies when you're having fun. This is probably one of the most eye-opening episodes I've been a part of, because I did not realize how widespread this was. This is unbelievable. At how much this is exposed to people.
It's
So
widespread.
yeah. It's unbelievable. It's crazy.
I mean, I look up there and I think even the dogs are a little bit affected because they're all cower. You know, you go out there and look at the dogs now. They're all over product that must be named. I don't know what's in that, but they're all cowering behind their owners. You notice that?
Yeah.
They have anxiety disorder. The dogs have anxiety disorder.
The dogs. Yeah, I've never really heard of anxiety disorder for dogs, but I guess that could. I mean, maybe that's why a lot of dogs freak out when there's lightning or thunder, or maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know.
They do that anyway, but they just don't seem. You see a lot of them that are very eccentric and nervous.
Mm.
But that's maybe pushing it a bit far.
You never know. You never know.
With the human beings.
Yeah. I mean, hey, anything's possible, you know?
Yeah.
So I am very curious to hear this story about you. So were you diagnosed with dementia, or did you just think you might have had it, or what?
No, it was my daughter. My daughter ran a caregiver agency, and so she's deals with elderly people a lot. Mm-hmm. She had lots and lots of clients. So she told me that she thought that I was getting early onset dementia or Alzheimer's or something, and that she and her husband had been scared to have me babysit my grandchildren.
Mm.
So, but the thing is, it was an epiphany for me to understand that this tendency to get poisoned by this stuff runs in families.
Mm.
So my mother died with Alzheimer's disease. My brother died quite early with dementia. My my grandmother died with dementia. My aunt was, really eccentric and had a terrific tremor. And my father had Asperger's syndrome. So, that's like, we're definitely a family that's susceptible to this.
Sure. Wow.
So I don't know when you have dementia or you don't realize you do, but I was told, that was what my daughter told me.
Okay. So what did you do?
Well, I started chelating.
That's when you started okay.
Yeah. I didn't do it because I thought I had dementia. I thought it was because I did it because I thought I'd finally found why I was sick all the time. Why I had all these symptoms. Because it's not normal to have chronic fatigue and anxiety disorder. That's not normal.
No, and it's certainly not normal for somebody in their, did you say 50s, when you were in your 50s to or 40s or whatever, to come down, to start experiencing symptoms of dementia? That's crazy.
In my late 50s, I would say that I was starting to get a little bit off there.
Yeah. That's unbelievably young usually when you hear about that, it's in your 80s or 90s or.
Well, I think it's the same thing. Autism is what this looks like in children, and dementia is what this looks like in elderly people.
Interesting.
And my brother died in his, I don't think he was even in his 60s.
Wow.
He had worked in demolition. So you stand around and watch buildings get blown up.
Yeah.
They said homeless people in there to take out all the mercury thermostats and things, and then they blow it up. You just stand there and watch it. So he had a lot of metals in him. So his hair was.
Oh my gosh. Well, and some of those older buildings. I mean, if you were in construction or demolition or a lot of those.
I rarely see a construction person. I mean, they people in construction, are easily exposed to lead.
Sure.
That's a whole other story. Yeah.
Yeah. Between lead and asbestos and all the, renovations. Yeah. Jeez. That's crazy.
But asbestos gives you cancer, but lead makes you go mad. So it's really
well, yeah.
It's true.
That's interesting. There's always different symptoms for different things, right? And every person is different too. So it could vary there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every person's different too.
Right. Yeah. For sure. So, all right, I'm gonna put your QR code back up there before I forget. So please, everybody, seriously reach out to Rebecca, because this is important stuff. And even if it's just to reach, I know this is scary. We're not trying to be all doom and gloom and be like, oh my gosh, everybody's got mercury in their system and, look what's coming for you. But it's a big deal and it's important, and we want you to be safe and we want you to be healthy. And so
what's important is to understand is there's a remedy for this. It's boring and it takes a long time, but it works.
Yeah. If you're looking for something sexy and quick, that's not it. But
there's no sexy and quick with this. And a lot of people, I think an important thing that people should be aware of is and if you go to my YouTube channel, I've got a couple of videos on this, is what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what not to do and don't do any of those things.
Yeah. For sure. And I'm assuming, so if somebody went to your website, could they access that YouTube? Do you have like a link to that?
I think so. I hope so on the landing page. Otherwise, maybe it's Mercury at YouTube, and you can search what not to do.
So same,
and that's in
same
the book
handle.
too. In the book, there's a chapter on what not to do, which is really, there's a lot of what nots to do in the book. But on the, in my YouTube video, it's like, don't try to chelate anything when you've got amalgams in your mouth. Don't use cilantro. Don't use chlorella. Sorry, guys. Don't take alpha lipoic acid off of its half-life. It's just a list of things.
Yeah.
Don't do those things, because don't do any IVs of chelators.
See,
don't
see, that's
do-
funny, because usually
Yeah.
when I think of an IV versus taking something orally versus putting it on your skin versus taking it other ways, it seems like the IV would be the way to go, because it's most direct, just get it in there.
No. If you use a chelator in IV, it'll mobilize just a massive amount of mercury, and the bulk of it will be redistributed. The other thing you shouldn't do is glutathione IVs, and a lot of people like those. Yeah.
Okay.
And the danger with those is, like, this is Andy reported this to me. People will do a bunch of them, and they'll feel great until the bad one hits. And it's common for people to become bipolar from doing those, IVs. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and we didn't even talk about this, and we don't have a lot of time left, but we could touch on it for a second or two. But there's a lot of stuff out there. You mentioned cilantro, and that person that I told you I talked to yesterday that's going through this process now based on going to your website. He was talking about he has seen ads on the internet for people that are like, oh, if you just do this, and this, and it's all it's with cilantro and all these different things. Like, first of all, I never would have guessed. I wouldn't have even thought of that. But there's so many things out there that if it seems too good to be true, it is. Okay.
Well, cilantro is a chelator, apparently, but
nobody
knows its half-life, and it's not, you don't know how strong a dose you're getting, because it's a plant. And,
so you can't regulate it in a way that,
you can't. I mean, if I had to use it, we would figure out how to, but but taking it in a smoothie or juicing it is a fast way to get committed. It can be that bad. You could wind up committed. Yeah. It's
just so unpredictable. There's so many variables with that. Where was it grown? Was it, how was it grown? Was it, all the different properties of it, and you just don't want to take any chances. Find a tried and true system to treat this, and
people say, oh, but it's all natural. Be careful with that. So is cobra venom. Cobra venom's natural too.
Yeah. So is arsenic, but it's not a good idea to ingest that either. Yeah. So
strychnine.
Strychnine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's found in nature too, but don't stay away from that too. So given all of this, I mean, we've got about a minute left, but I mean, is there, what is something that you would like to leave our audience with? Just a last hurrah of, here's what I want you to know and what to do.
I think that a lot of people are suffering horribly and they haven't found the solution, and you should look into this, find out, go to the Facebook group, go to my website, get the book, educate yourself, because this may be what's the matter with you. And the other thing is, please be aware of the do not do list before you go to any doctor that's any detox specialist. Check with us first. Be careful.
Yeah. I mean, if this system works, don't reinvent the wheel. Go and do this one, well,
educate yourself really well first before you start, injecting yourself with things.
Right. Yeah. Don't do anything that can hurt yourself worse. Yeah.
You can hurt yourself really badly by moving around mercury. Mercury's really poisonous.
Yeah.
And some people have a lot in their bodies in places that, they're tolerating it.
Yeah.
But if you start pulling that out, moving it around, you can hurt yourself.
It can wreak havoc in so many new ways that you don't even see coming. So definitely do it right. For sure. So
don't don't make yourself so sick. People think they're strong, but this is stronger than anybody. I've seen a couple people who take it and committed suicide. It's true, but that can happen.
Please, everybody, reach out to Rebecca and do it right. So, well, hey, we are out of time. Unfortunately, this hour went so fast because there was so much good information. I appreciate you coming and sharing with us. Thank you so much for all this information and for being so open. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. I enjoyed it, and I hope that a lot of people listen.
Me too. Thank you. All right, everybody. Man, this is a big deal. So I hope you guys are moved to action on this, because this is a thing. So please reach out to Rebecca and make sure that you are doing it the right way, and make sure you stay healthy. So and for those of you that are watching, thank you for being here. If you're somebody that's been watching for a long time, I appreciate it. And if you're brand new, thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe and share wherever you happen to be watching, if it's YouTube, Facebook, or on E360 TV. And join us for our next show on Tuesday, August 27th. And until then, have an amazing day, and we will see you next time.